Hello and welcome to Soul Love with Kimness. I am Kim van der Zande, your host, and I'm super excited to share another episode of Soul Love with you, where we share inspirational and empowering stories from the heart. We talk about the beauty and the shadows as both are part of the ascension journey, to remind you that you are powerful, you are magical, and to have trust in what you feel to be true deep within. Enjoy this next episode of Soul Love. Welcome everyone to a new episode of Soul Love, and today we have my first soul brother joining, and I'm so excited to share with you the magic of Karl Gruber. Welcome within this sacred space.
Wow, Kim, it is an honor to be on your show. Hello from the US, and I had you on my podcast, so now we're turning the tables. Thank you.
It's beautiful. Yes, it was such an empowering conversation. So I feel honored to also share your magic here to all the listeners and everyone joining. So I love how you've also just launched a new book, and it's amazing how you combine like the law of attraction with spirituality. And I want to ask you, how did that spark within you to really deepen that experience? Because you give like a different dimension to the law of attraction, but how did that end up in your own life? How did that awaken for you?
Well, all right. You got a couple hours for an answer.
The speed of light version. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Actually, it does go back a fairly far in my life. A couple decades, maybe 30 years ago. I started to have a spark awaken within me because I grew up in blue collar country in Cleveland, Ohio, which is, factories, especially back then. And so I grew up in a family where there was absolutely no going to church, no talk of God, nothing at all. And when it was brought up, it was just kind of glossed over. So as I got older, I thought, well, that was kind of weird. But then I started to understand and appreciate it because I didn't have any esoteric dogma of religion, whatever religion it would be, rammed down my throat as a youngster. And so it allowed me to have a blank slate of mind and allowed me to absorb in my own way, in my own manner, the understanding of the universe and the spiritual laws.
Yes.
And so I became what I would call a student of the 3 Ps, positive, possibility, power thinking. And it stemmed from starting with one of the building blocks of the positive thinking era was that, exactly, the power of positive thinking with Dr. Norman Vincent Peale. And then I went on to other things like Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, and etc. Big influences in my life. So it made me realize that all things are possible within my life. And finally, fast forwarding, I did a whole year of marathoning to raise money for leukemia. And that took me to a different level that I understood that all things were possible. And I ran one marathon a week for 52 straight weeks. From 1996 to 1997. And again, the purpose was to raise money and awareness of leukemia. So that put me on a podium of integrity, say, when somebody says, oh, that's not possible, I go, well, yes, it is.
Yes.
And then finally, in all the way back in 2014, I had become a certified law of attraction life coach in 2012. And in 2014, I wrote an ebook, but it stemmed from the fact that, sure, we understand that the law of attraction is like attracts like. That which you think and dwell upon consistently will be more of that will be sent to you, be it good or bad. A lot of people don't understand that. You have to pay attention to that. And so I was able to manifest a few things here. And granted, I'm a law of attraction life coach, so I wanted to learn this, how to do it consistently. And most of my clients couldn't do it consistently either. So I finally sat down. I kind of had this slow unfolding epiphany of what does it take to become a consistent manifester with the universe to create. The way I like to say is to be able to live the life you love and love the life you live. And I finally realized, because I had become a spiritual student studying A Course in Miracles way back, I started studying it in 2004. And I learned what true spirituality is. True spirituality has nothing to do with the 3D world. You know, in the 3D world, everything has one, you know, there's two ends of the sticks, hot and cold, love and fear, you know, all on, and peace and attack, that type of thing. But I came to understand that if you base your personal life on this form of true spirituality, non-dualistic spirituality, you align yourself with eternal universal truths of unconditional love and oneness. So if you can combine that with your understanding of the law of attraction and walk in harmony with these principles, then, only then, will you start to see things manifest on a consistent basis. So I wrote this initial ebook in 2014 called The Three Pillars, a three-step simple process to manifest positive and permanent change in your life. And the basis of it was that many people, we think, have this perfect life. And I use as an example high profile people like politicians and movie stars, et cetera. We think they have the perfect life. They have it all, but all of a sudden, and we see this in the news almost on a daily basis, their entire house comes crashing down. And I realize that because there are three pillars, which are mental, physical, and spiritual. One of them, if not all three, had a crack in them because they weren't aligned with true spiritual principles and their understanding of how the law of attraction actually works. I mean, you can never turn it off, even though people don't even.
No, you always manifest something, either consciously or subconsciously. Yeah.
Right. And I came to understand that, you know, you had to, if you had a crack in your pillar due to lack of integrity in following these beautiful, eternal, universal spiritual truths, then you have to pay, you know, what would be the right thing? You have to cover over those cracks and make the pillar solid. And this creates a rock solid personal foundation for your house, your life. And then you can stand on that podium of integrity and work with the universe on creating the life that you really desire consistently. And so I really enjoyed writing that ebook, and I got Spirit put this idea in my head, well, why don't you expand on that? So I came up with that, you know, true spirituality and the law of attraction. Took me a few years to write because mainly I messed around and said, I'll go back and write a chapter, but I expanded on that. And the book is True Spirituality and the Law of Attraction, a beautiful symbiotic relationship, which went back to my understanding that you have to mesh those two. Those two dance a beautiful tango together. And one is needed as much as the other. They live in harmony and resonance with it. And by, you know, the things that I write and talk about in my book, we can integrate those into our own life to become consistent manifestors.
It is. Yeah, I love, there are so many gems in your story, but I also like how you started, because you had this openness, all the theories you received, you were able to get the gems out of it without like the filters of growing up in maybe biblical community or things like that. I love that, but also combining both, because in the end we are like this multidimensional being, and it's coming in wholeness and coming in oneness, and especially in this time. And I love that, like, you also share very beautiful practical things, but it's inviting us with everything that happens in the world to really build a strong foundation. It doesn't work anymore to only put one pillar up very high, because it's like the energies are rising so much that it's really putting force on our house. So I really love, this is such an important message right now. It's upgrading all the parts of our lives instead of one. Yeah, but I also love, like, as you shared, like and I think it's also aligned, like the time frame where the second book was birthed. It is you embodying even more what you share, you going through the own experience. Have you noticed that within your own life, that as you developed this book, that you also like embodied it more, like felt it more?
Absolutely, yeah. And I've mentioned this on other podcasts. You and I may even have talked about this on my podcast, World Awakenings, and the biggest thing that I have noticed in change in my life over the last few years is I am more peaceful than I have ever been before. I was just reading, don't know if I can quote it exactly, but you can live in this 3D world with the understanding of these true spiritual principles, but that 3D world's not real, but we're still here within the dream of this body, and you can go through life and not take things so seriously. You tend to smile a little bit more, your forehead's a little more serene, and you don't have to get up on a soapbox and say, hey, everybody, here's the true spiritual principles. You can just live life.
Yeah.
And as you do that, you actually radiate peace and understanding and love to other people. You probably will see less and less and less and less people in your life that cause you problems and consternation and other drama and trauma.
It is, but I think that's a huge key you're sharing here, because when you live it, it just becomes a natural part of your being instead of only saying it. A lot of people say a lot, but they don't live it, or they don't feel it, or they don't really share it from their own experienced living. And I think that's huge to really experience it. But I also love, like, you sharing that you did a marathon each week for a year. A world record is only broken when someone believes in something that hasn't been created before. It's like we are so conducted or so structured in ways that of the past, of what has already been created. But it asks, like you, the brave ones, the people that really believe in something different, to hold that vision until that world record is broken, until you can do something that someone didn't do before. But I always like that with world records, like there's a lot of disbelief, but the moment the world record is broken, suddenly a lot of people are able to reach that record. But it somehow comes into the collective, or it's an interesting, I find it always interesting.
Well, and it is interesting because at the time, back in 1995, this is over 25 years ago, I did it. I didn't even know that it was a thing that people ran a marathon a week for a year. I actually ended up becoming the 9th man in the world to do it. And since 25 years ago, dozens and perhaps hundreds of people have gone on it. But it all started in 1980 with a man from California named Jay Helgerson. And he had nobody had ever done it. And he just went out and ran a marathon a week for a year. And again, I don't tell people this to, I ran 42.2 kilometers once a week for a year to show them how cool I am. I just want people to understand it's like, my personal motto, that ordinary people can accomplish extraordinary things. And like Abraham says through Louise Hicks, there's nothing that you cannot be, do, or have. If you open your heart and open your mind to possibilities out there and take inspired action, then you align with those universal laws, you align with the law of attraction. And believe me, there was times during those 52 weeks where I did and said things that misaligned me to places, that I shouldn't be, and drew things to me that I didn't need to, because I didn't know what the law of attraction was. But, I had that power of positive thinking in my mind, and that was a big help. But I want people to understand there are no limits at all within this body, or even spiritually, it doesn't pertain just to the body, but most people, and this, Kim, that most people feel unworthy of going after or having their greatest dreams, goals, and desires. And I'm here to tell you that there is a divine self within you, your real self, that is connected to all that is. And if you're connected to all that is, then everything is available. It's the law of sufficiency and abundance.
Yeah, but it is also like creating your dreams, manifesting the desire for these dreams come from a higher purpose, and it's honoring that. It's sometimes we think, okay, if I'm joyful, I'm not of a contribution, or it's not living my mission. But living your mission is being joyful, is being supported, is being loved, is being nurtured, because then you can give more to others. And I think that's beautiful. Also, as you share, like when that foundation is there and you really can co-create with the universe, you are supported in so many ways, and then you can give more to others. So it's first building that foundation, not only to be of support for yourself, but for everyone around you. Yeah, I love that.
Well, and I think you kind of just touched on that the idea was given to me. So 2 examples, my 52 marathons, I had gotten to know a little 5-year-old boy back in 1994 and 95 who had leukemia, and he ended up dying. And so from it, and I was out on a run one morning. I used to own a home way out in the countryside, and I was running through the morning mist and just saying to myself, well, what can I do? What can I do to make this a better place, a better world? And the idea was just given to me. Oh, how about if I run a marathon a week for 52 weeks? And I didn't even know it was a thing.
No.
And then as far as my book, same thing. It was, the idea was just given to me from spirit. Why don't you expand on this? You have a lot to offer. And the other thing too, you know, you asked me any benefits that I've had to myself. I have started to listen to my guides more and more. And as you know, Kim, we all have the monkey mind. I don't think we'll ever, any of us, get rid of it. But one thing that you can tell the difference is the ego is always first to talk and always speaks the loudest and the harshest. And spirit, your guide, all that is, always talks softly and just suggests. And you know, all that is, source, God cannot do anything for you unless you ask for the help, but you have to listen. People ask for help, but then they don't listen. One example for me is driving. You know, it's interesting. I'm a city driver with a heavy foot, and I used to be driving as fast. I still drive fast. I can't help it. But you know, whenever somebody would be driving in front of me really slow, and I especially had to be somewhere, I, you know, started cussing and calling them names and stuff. And finally one day I heard a little voice when this was happening. Well, Karl, how do you know that's not an angel driving in front of you that was sent to keep you from getting in a wreck and getting to your point of a place that you need to be safely? And so now, I mean, I honestly, every single time that happens, I go, oh, look, there's an angel in front of me. Yeah, he's keeping me safe, and I'm not frustrated or mad at all.
No, but I love it because it's just this paradigm shift or this mindset shift, and then the world looks different and suddenly you get different things. Yeah, but it's also important, like with the moment we ask for guidance, to be open, but also to be willing to act upon it. But because most of the time, or sometimes, the guidance may come in different ways than we expect, or the guidance is different than what we hoped for, and then it's really, are we willing to listen, and are we willing to align? So that's an important key as well, because the guidance is always there, but it's also trusting that our journey, and I think also with manifestations, it also has a deeper layer. Like if we really want to manifest something that is so out of alignment with our soul path, the universe will give us signals to change it. How do you deal with that with your clients as well? Because sometimes things are so out of alignment with what our higher purpose is, or with what our soul really wants to experience. And then it's also letting go and trusting in the higher plan, or
Well, I'd have to say, actually, most of the people in the world are out of alignment because, you know, they're so tuned into, you know, the latest news about the latest school shooting and the wars and stuff like that. And it's not like you can't pay attention to what's going on in the world, but you don't have to let yourself absorb it and be disempowered. And also, the world is so distracted. I mean, being a runner, I go outside and I don't wear earbuds. I have them in now for this show, but you know, my running is my quiet meditative time of the day. But most of the world is walking around with a cell phone in their ear, the white Wi-Fi sticks or whatever, Bluetooth sticks in their ear, or they have earbuds. And most people are afraid to listen to their own thoughts. And when they do take out those earbuds, well, there's the ego going, you stupid idiot, what are you doing? And they, oh, I better put the earbuds back in. But if they finally ditch those earbuds and all the extraneous noise and distractions and the videos and the wars on TV, that type of thing, they might start to hear that voice, you know. And as you know, it's so important to do some meditation. I'm not the world's greatest meditator. I will be the first to admit that. But like I said, running is, I'm going for a run after this this
Yes.
chat. It is my meditative time of the day, but be willing to open up and actually listen. And like I said, many people say, God, I need help. I need help. And then when it's given to them, they don't listen, or they may hear it and they just poo-poo it, you know?
Yeah, this is not convenient. I'm not listening, or it's like,
Right.
yeah.
It's not convenient. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great.
Yes, but I also love, like, yeah, I think it's also redefining our definition of meditation, because you walking outside is already meditative when you're doing it in the now moment. So not when you're like distracted with other things, but when we're just sitting and we're really present, that is also meditation. When we're walking, when we're running, or when we're doing things with ourselves, but really meditation, I think, is really being present in the now moment. So you're able to receive, to hear your guidance, to see what comes around, to see signs and synchronicities on your path. So I love that, because it's not only sitting for an hour and waiting for a sign. It's asking the universe, and then just being open in the now moment to see what comes on your path. So I love that. And it's like, for some it's running, and for some it's something else. But the world has so been taught to numb ourselves, or to distract ourselves, or to, so it's really a journey of believing again, believing that something different is possible, and sharing these stories of empowerment. And
well, A Course in Miracles calls the now the holy instant.
Yeah.
And the beauty about, quote, meditation, or even what, if you want to use the term mindfulness, you could be in the heart of your workday and just go, you know, everything's coming at you. Even if you go to the restroom and you can just stop, you know, where nobody's distracting you for a minute or two, and just try to calm your mind and be as quiet as possible. You actually may hear some guidance, but it is possible. You could be standing in the line at a convenience store in a hurry and just, okay, I'm just going to take a moment to be quiet, you know? And so you're right. It doesn't have to be an hour of meditation. It could be a minute.
No. And honoring that minute is so important, because in that minute you're stopping the resistance, and you're choosing flow. And I've noticed in my journey, and that of clients and others, like, when we really, but it's again self-love, when we really find ourselves worthy enough to take, like, even if it's 5 minutes sitting quietly on the toilet, it shifts so much. No, but it's like taking that time for yourself to listen within, because it also has to do with self-love, loving yourself enough to create something different, and really taking time with yourself. A couple of podcasts ago, someone shared about date night with yourself, or date moments with yourself. It's such an important relationship that we have just neglected. And really, I think also in manifestation, it's so important, like honoring ourselves and really going deeper within who we are, and the connection with ourselves. And that is also the connection with the divine. It's like all, but from a different space.
And I think it is one positive aspect of at least taking a little bit of time to study spiritual principles, true spiritual principles and universal laws, is that many people, especially adolescents or people in large families, they have no self-love, because unfortunately the people around them can be very harsh and judgmental and say, you know, you'll never add up to be anything in this family, you know. And so it is hard to gain a perspective of self-love. But if you take the time somehow, some way, even, you know, even if you live in a family of 10 people, if you're near your local library, walk in, grab a book that might guide your mind to a little more peaceful spiritual place, and you might see a spark of self-love and build on it from there.
It is, but it's the same with, I love that, books as well. Like your book, it will spark something. If you read it, it's like choosing these empowering teachings, choosing to, even if you like watching movies or things, but choose a movie that lifts your spirit, instead of very sad stories or very, very harsh story. It's like in every moment we have a choice what we choose to surround ourselves with. So do we choose to surround ourselves with uplifting things, or joyful things, or beautiful things, or like harsh things? And I think that's a huge shift that already create so much change in our lives, and in the way we impact the world. And
well, I do want to emphasize to people, you know, you don't have to run a marathon a week for a year to change the world. You could be making a quilt to honor veterans. You could be teaching piano lessons as a volunteer, or whatever your ability and your passions are. You know, you came with a specific passion and purpose in life and allow it to blossom, not only will that build self-love, but you're going to radiate that out to the people you encounter, and they too will become more peaceful just as you pursue that purpose.
It is. Yeah. I love that. I think that's a beautiful message. And it doesn't have to be like sometimes our ego mind likes the grand things. Sometimes it's even in the little profound things, or creating like a beautiful meal for your family, or doing something small. So I think, thank you. That's a beautiful message, because it's like, it's honoring that little, that small thing that we can do in each and every moment to, uplift our lives and that of others. And if there is one,
Well, I was going to say, I know we don't have a lot of time left, but I just want to say, if there's one thing that people do or take away from this program, is I want you to understand that your thoughts are real things. Your thoughts are energy. A lot of people say, you know, just because they can't see it, they think, well, I thought this thing, and well, I don't see anything, but it's just as real as the table in front of you. And so if you understand that your thoughts are real and you're attracting from the universe, the law of attraction, good or bad things you're dwelling on, well, now maybe I should pay a little more attention to where I point my thoughts. Let's point it towards good, loving, happy, healthy, beautiful, abundant things.
Yes, I love that. Thank you. Yeah, it's such an important key. Our thoughts, our words, every action we do. Yeah, also the conversations we have with each other. Yeah, to really, when you're mindful about that and aware, things start to shift, because that's a power of creation. And that is something I think that needs to be taught at schools at the beginning, how your thoughts are energy and how they are influencing your life. And if we know that, we will have different thoughts, we will have different conversations, we will have different actions. It's such a, I think that is one of the earth laws or natural laws that needs to be practiced. It's almost like, but it's not a given. So many people have not been in contact with that awareness, or
That's a beautiful thought. I would love to see that taught in schools to
youngsters. Me too. I think because these are basic principles. If we want to create, we are a creator, so it's reminding us of our creator being. And
right.
So thank you for sharing your magic and your words. And if people want to find your book, I will share the link underneath this video or audio, so they can connect and share the beautiful magic within that. So,
and if they would like to, they can go to my website, karlgruberlifecoach.com. Karl spelled with a K. Maybe you could share that in the links too. And
I will.
I'd love to do some coaching and work with anybody. And I do hope they get a copy of my book, True Spirituality and the Law of Attraction. I feel it has a lot to offer the world.
It is. It's a beautiful book, a beautiful gift. So thank you for sharing your wisdom, and thank you everyone for listening. And I'll see you in the next Soul Love podcast. Much love. Bye. Thank you for joining this episode of Soul Love. If you want to find out more about what we do, you can find it below. And I'll see you in the next episode. Much love.